Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Welcome back to the Misunderstood Show. We have Stephony Garrett on the show today. She is going to tell us some hilarious and crazy real estate stories. I am very excited about this because I have asked so many realtors to come on the show and do this. And they're like, I don't really want to go on the show and talk about that kind of stuff. I guess they're afraid, like, if people know that they're telling the story about them, they might figure it out. I don't think people will figure it out.
I don't think
and even
so.
if they do, nobody knows.
Yeah, it's been a long time since some of the things that I've experienced have happened.
Right.
So they probably don't even.
I'm like, this show isn't that popular, guys. Nobody's listening to it. So a few old men from the Lions Club, my dad, my mother-in-law.
Well, I'm glad you introduced me to it.
Yeah. No, we've had some pretty good traffic lately on the show. I'm very proud. We had Peyton Howley on the show recently.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's had a lot of traffic. We've had some really good traffic on Bigfoot shows, and so it's getting more popularity. More people are finding out about it, and so we'll just keep. Hopefully, at some point it gets really popular. But what's cool is when it gets popular later, it's on Spotify and YouTube and all these things, so people can go back and listen to the old episodes. Which I've noticed people have done that because the old episodes are still going up in numbers. So you just never know.
Right.
If I turn into Joe Rogan or something, you'll be famous. And then everybody will hear all these stories.
Let's hope that happens to you.
Yeah.
So every time that I tried to tell somebody that I was doing this today, I'm going, I don't even know what to call it. Is it podcast? What is this? So,
It is a podcast. It's a
Okay.
radio show. It's both.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of
Radio
radio stations have put it on Spotify and YouTube and all the different things to get more
Okay.
traction. It's on social media and stuff
Well,
like
I'll
that.
put it on my YouTube.
Yeah.
There you
YouTube,
go.
Spotify is great because you can listen to it while you're going on the road.
Okay.
But there's no video on Spotify.
Right.
So I know on some Spotify programs they have video, but
Hmm.
we don't. Why don't we have video on Spotify?
You can't until you need to be partners.
Oh, so I have to get really popular first.
We have to
We have to pay. Money.
Oh, so we need sponsors. We need big sponsors. Cool. Good to know. I'll work on that. But not that people should be watching video while they're driving on the road.
No, but everybody has a screen.
Well, see, I feel like it's cool. Like if you're at home and you put it on your TV on YouTube or your iPad or your laptop or something, that's
true.
fine. So Spotify is more for like people who are cruising,
Yeah.
mowing the lawn or whatever they're doing while they're listening, working out.
Yeah. That's typically what I use it for, just same as Audible. Just plug in the earphones and listen. Is it on Audible?
It's not on Audible. We would need someone to read a book, I guess. I am writing a book.
Oh, cool.
I talk about it all the time. I'm never going to finish it.
I should write a book. Oh, goodness.
Write a book about crazy real estate stories.
Some of the things.
Awesome. Just make sure you reference us on there.
So I went on this show and I talked about this event.
Right,
So-
exactly. So tell us some stories.
Okay, so I think the one that really takes the cake was I had done business with a gentleman, and he was going through a divorce. So after we closed on his property, I just kind of thought, I'll never hear from these people again, which
Why did you think
surprised
that?
me. He was from Cold Spring.
Okay.
The property that he sold was here in Conroe. It was his grandmother's home.
Gotcha.
So the connection between Cold Spring and here, I was really surprised that I got his call and, that he wanted me to do this, because I want to say this was probably back in 2015. And hadn't been doing real estate but just a few years.
Okay.
And to get a cold call like that from somebody was kind of unique. we're usually the one chasing them, not them
Right.
chasing us.
Right.
So I took care of that, and once the deal was done, I truly thought this is the last time I'll probably hear from this family. Well, they divorced, and then she reached out to me and was telling me, and this is a few years later, that she had property that she wanted to sell, and she wanted me to come out and take a look at it, and she was telling me how much it was worth, and she was going to tell me how to list it, and she had lots of ideas. And so I said, I will come, but you have to listen to what I have to say, because you can't treat every listing exactly the same.
Right.
She was comparing it to how I managed the sale of his grandma's house.
Right.
And so I got out there and saw the property, heard what she thought it was worth, told her that was way up there in price range based on the size and location and all the things.
Right.
And
Yeah, because Cold Spring is totally different market.
Yeah, well,
than
this was not
Conroe.
Cold Springs. This was by the other lake.
Oh.
So, and you know, one of the neighborhoods up there that was basically a lake community.
Okay.
And so showed up, and the house was not bad, but it was small. The interior of it was kind of arranged very differently. What I think she did was she picked this up, and then she went in and completely redid the interior of the home on a penny. So nothing was grand, you know, as far as the interior and everything, but she wanted to put it on the market. She had ideas what she was going to do and move on down the road. So I took the listing and put it on the market, and when we finally got the price adjusted to where people would start coming and looking at this property, then finally we had some showings, and it was rolling, and everything was going good. And lo and behold, one day she tells me, "You've got to come take a picture of this." And I'm like, "Take a picture of what?" She said, "Well, I've added a feature, and I just want you to come take a picture of it. I think it's going to help my listing." And I drove out to see what it was she was talking about, and in her garage, she had built a platform in the corner of the garage with a pole that went from the platform to the ceiling.
Was it a joke?
It was not a joke. And so I said, "You can't do this. Why did you do this?" And she goes, "Well, we have a lot of fun out here, and my friends like to come over, and we party quite a bit." And so it was like, well, this was not a good addition. This did not add value to your
Probably
property.
depreciated the value.
Yeah, I said,
Unless, I mean, depending on the customer, I guess. There's
Yeah.
always a market for somebody.
And well, now there's holes because she literally drilled the top of this platform or this pole. You know, it had a square piece at the top of it through the roof, and it's just a metal garage. It's just like a metal building that they used as a garage. Anywho, I said, it is what it is. You know, we'll work around this. So, believe it or not, as people were coming to take a look at it, there were those who were like, I can't believe they'd go to the trouble to build something like that in the garage. And then there were those who was like, it's not a big deal to me. So the guy who showed an interest in the property as a whole, said, I think he was a martial arts teacher. And he said, the platform's not a problem. We can decorate and use it for our certifications or for our recognitions.
What kind of platform was this?
It was just about 18 inches off the ground, had one step up, and was like, it was
like a stage?
Yeah, kind of like a stage.
Like a corner stage?
Very much like a stage with a pole right in the middle of it. And so what she had told me is, if anyone questions the pole, just tell them I use it for exercise purposes. And I'm like, yeah, they're not going to believe that. So we just rolled with it. But this guy was okay with it. And so we went under contract. This was one of those situations where I wasn't sure this was going to close because it was a VA loan. And VA is very particular.
They don't like stripper poles.
Oh, they don't like.
Is
lots
that
of
in
things.
the restrictions? No stripper poles.
So the age of the home meant there was probably a lot of wear and tear that they would pick on. They just look really hard at a home and make sure
Right.
that everything.
You can't have wood touching the
Yes,
ground.
exactly.
You have to have all the bushes
Exactly.
and trees have to be 6 inches away from the house.
Windows have to be perfect. No
Right.
chips or anything at
No
all.
leaks.
Yeah.
No,
So,
you can't have any moisture in the windows.
Right.
You can't have anything.
right. So there are all of those things that I was expecting to have to deal
You can't
with.
pile your firewood up against the house.
Exactly.
Like, we just had one of those.
And this was an older home, so the vegetation was really close to the house too. So anyway, we were moving right along with this loan, and everything seemed to be fine until we got to the fact that what they had actually done to this house is added on a porch that they covered, that they had units in the tower fans in there, and that was how they cooled it, because it didn't have the AC running to that room. But outside the door to that room, it went directly to the garage, to the driveway where the garage was. It didn't have a handrail.
Oh.
So this buyer graciously offered to pick up the timber and all the tools necessary and go by the house and build the handrail that was needed in order for the loan to approve this property. And so I made arrangements for her not to be there so that they could be there and take care of that. And the buyer's agent actually scheduled it through a showing service so that it was all legit. We knew she was going to be there and what time. And when they showed up, she called and she said, we have a new problem. And I said, and what is that? And she said, well, there seems to be some new art in the house. And I said, art? And she goes, well, not necessarily art, but a wall that has been graffitied. And I went, okay, you're going to have to send me a picture because I have no idea what you're talking about. So in this little house, what used to be the breakfast nook, she had turned it into basically a wet bar. And in that space,
While it was in the process of,
No,
under contract?
the wet bar was already there.
Okay.
This was just her setup. But there was one wall that went to the garage that was just plain, nothing on it, no art, no nothing. And so one of her guests had decided that they were going to do something on the art. They were having a party because she was under contract and she was about to close and she was about to move, and they decided to
Don't
do...
ever throw a party at your house when it's under contract.
Exactly. Don't ever, ever, ever. And if you are, make sure it's simple. It's the best way I
Not
can
wild?
put it. Yeah, not wild.
Controlled?
There you go. I like that
Outside?
idea. There you go. Even if it's inside, just low key.
Like a
How
tea
about that?
party.
Yeah, exactly. But in this particular situation, one of the friends had drawn this life-size Stimpy on the wall. Do you know what Stimpy is?
I know who Ren and Stimpy is.
Okay, so it was Stimpy. And then all of the other guests decided they would put their signature on the wall around Stimpy. And so when she sent me the picture letting me know what was on the wall, I immediately called my client and said, you gotta paint over that. And she goes, I ain't painting it. I'm cutting it out and taking it with me. So I said, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Contract says that the home has to
Unless
be...
you replace the wall.
Mm-hmm. The contract says the home has to be in the same condition that it was in at the time you went under contract, if not better.
Right.
So if you don't replace that with a fresh coat of paint, then they could easily back out of this contract, and you're starting all over from
And you have to give them their earnest money back, and they can sue you.
Oh, so
if they paid for inspection and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, they had been through it all. We were approaching closing. They were putting in the handrail, and that's the last thing that we needed to do to go to closing. So I told her, you got to paint over it. She insisted that she wanted to take it down. And so what she told me she was going to do was, I'm just going to cut the sheetrock, pull it off the wall, and put up a piece of panel. I said, can't do that either. Even if it's wall, it's not the same as it was before. So you've got to come back and put exactly what's there, and then you have to have it taped, floated, paint,
right,
exact same. It's got to look the same,
exactly the same.
And so she was all kind of put it, out of
sorts.
Yeah, because I'm telling her she has to do this, and she doesn't want to, but she eventually did. She did do the right thing.
So she replaced the wall? Or she cut it out?
I think she just took a picture of it for safekeeping and painted over it. And we went to closing. They had to come back, of course, for another appointment to make sure it had been done.
Right, your final walkthrough.
Yeah.
Your final walkthrough.
Your buyer's walkthrough. So that's that was the craziest thing I think.
That's pretty crazy. I've heard some crazy stories, but that's just what.
Stampy.
Do you wonder what people are thinking? What are they thinking about?
I don't think they were.
That's just. Do they not? I just don't try to understand people, I guess, is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Because I just don't. I'm like, why would you think that would be okay? And a stripper pole?
Yeah.
And then you drill holes in the roof?
Yeah.
They're probably going to leak now?
And then the sides, too, because everywhere that she had put that platform,
and she built it herself?
I think so.
So she's not a carpenter?
No, she's not a carpenter.
Interesting. And you said this was a guy you sold his grandmother's house?
It was his wife at the time. They were no longer married.
So where was he during all of this?
Well, he was no longer married to her.
Oh, she called you after the divorce to sell this house.
Yes.
That is kind of strange.
Yeah.
Maybe she just didn't know any other realtors.
I don't know, but she remembered me.
You made a good impression.
Yeah, she remembered how well I had taken care of that property. And, it was, even that property was just this little farmhouse, not very big, maybe 1,200 square feet. That's what the older generation had, on 10 acres, out 1485.
Yeah.
And
sounds amazing.
He's half of it is cleared and the rest of it is wooded, and I'm doing my comps and where he's wanting to be, because he was also that I'm going to tell you what I want for it kind of guy, which may be why she thought she could be that way too. But I kept pushing to him the comps that I was pulling and saying, you've got to sell it for at least this much.
Right.
What you're asking for on this property is about $15,000 too much. Let's talk about this. And so we finally got him down to where he needed to be, and we sold it.
Right.
And when the appraisal came in, I said, "This is what you need to see." And we don't usually see the appraisal.
Right.
But this particular person had actually provided us a copy so that I could show them. And I guess appraisers aren't supposed to do that because the person purchasing the appraisal owns the appraisal. And usually that's the lender.
Right.
The buyer owns it, but the lender orders it. So
right.
That's kind of...
Well, and they don't want the appraisers communicating too much with the realtors.
This is true. Because
it's a conflict of interest, because back in the day, appraisers would get persuaded by realtors to appraise it for a certain amount.
Right.
Hey, I really need you to appraise this for this much so I can get it sold. And so it became a conflict of interest, so they cut all that off.
Right.
I don't know when that was. I've only been in real estate since 2018, so I'm not really sure.
I've been since 2012. And one of the things that I started doing that I've had some appraisers that absolutely appreciate is I put together a book and I bind it, and it has the comps that I've used, and it has the improvements
Right.
that I know about.
And you can get a comp. You can get comps from your lender and your title company as well to kind of back you up. Ours aren't as accurate because we pull them from the CAD, but it's better than nothing.
Right.
And a lot of times it's lower. So if you're trying to show a client, hey, this isn't worth what you're saying. This is from the title company and this is from the lender.
Right.
This is what we're showing. It's not going to be as accurate as yours,
Right.
but it's going to be close. And it's going to help you kind of show them this is what we're pulling from records. And so I think that helps a lot with people who are struggling to talk to their clients about not listing their house high.
Right.
Because when it sits on the market, once you lower it, then they think something's wrong with it.
Right.
And then it doesn't sell because people think something's wrong with it.
And there's a lot of people who are gathering the information about their properties from the syndicate platforms.
Zillow? Our best friend Zillow?
So my Zestimate says, and I always tell them, please don't put any stock in that.
Do they send you listings all the time on Zillow that aren't even real listings?
Well, I currently have someone that was interested in the property, and his first offer was based on this estimate. And I told him, that's too low. He said, well, that's where I want to start. I said, I can start there for you. You're the boss. You hire me. I write the contract. I submit the contract. They tell you yes or no. That's basically how that goes. And of course, we submitted the
and they're like,
contract, and they came down off the price $1,000. So I still believe, I firmly believe.
So
that
instead of
that
$700,000, it was
property-
$699.
Well,
Just kidding.
this one is not quite that high, about half that.
I just think that would be funny though. It's kind of like you insulted them, so they're going to insult you back.
Yeah,
kind of thing
exactly.
is what happens, and people don't understand that. You don't want to piss off the seller
This is true.
because they'll just deny it.
This is true.
And if you put things on there too that they don't want, like banks that they don't want to deal with, or unfortunately for some people that need a USDA loan, you know, they'll reject it. But definitely don't insult them by lowballing them.
Well, we went down that road, and so now we're coming back up to where my comps say that house should be listed. And in this particular situation, it's still overpriced on the market, in my opinion.
It's still on the market, right?
It's on the market.
That means it's overpriced usually.
Yeah, and so I've
There's only two reasons that houses are on the market for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation just this morning with the listing agent. She's so pleasant. She's newer. I had sent her my comps, and I said, I want us to just talk about this. And so she agreed that the comps that I used were pretty accurate, and she believed that the reason that her client wanted to go a little higher is because of all the lots in the neighborhood, he's sitting on 2. But the lot value is not that much.
Gotcha.
So you can't raise the price of the home significantly when the lot value isn't that much.
Right.
And I get that that's what he's wanting to do, but
Right.
we just had a really good conversation, and I'm not above calling an agent and saying, let's talk about this.
Oh, I do. I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if I was even going to put an offer on anything, I was just going to call the agent first
Right.
and try to get the lowdown. Hey, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
What, can you tell me anything about it? And just see what they would tell me. Some people will tell you a lot, probably too much. And then some people won't tell you anything.
Right.
And those are the people that are good agents because they won't tell you anything. Because when people called me, I was like, oh, everything's on MLS.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I had a kind of a more of a bulldog in me when I was a realtor. They called me the negotiator.
Oh.
People would take me to go buy a car. I mean, people still ask me to go buy a car with them because I'm like, I don't, there's a term that my family likes to use on me. They call me the Jew.
Oh.
Which I have friends who are Jewish, and so I don't want to offend anybody. It's like I have really good friends that are Jewish, and Jesus was a Jew. But yeah, you know what I mean. And they're like, you will nickel and dime somebody to the last penny. And I'm like, I mean,
well, you're
why
getting
not?
the best deal.
I was raised by grandparents who lived in the Great Depression, and my granddad would take me to garage sales, and he did the same thing.
Yep.
So that's where I learned it from. Thanks,
Yeah.
Granddaddy. If y'all have a problem with it, call him. I mean, he's in heaven, but you can still call him.
He taught you well.
He did teach me. My father is a very good negotiator as well. He's very thrifty, and we go to Goodwill and he negotiates stuff. He loved
That's
Goodwill
so
and
funny.
Salvation Army and all these places. He loved to decorate. He loves like that Southwest look. So we would go to all these like, Goodwill and Salvation Army and try to find like Southwest decor, and he would decorate the whole house and he would paint skulls, and I'm like, you're such a weird dad.
So my sister was always really good at talking people into stuff, and it started at a very young age. And so when I was 10, she was 8, we used to take piano lessons.
Nice.
And while we were at the piano lessons, my mom would walk across the street because she knew the neighbors to the pianist. And she would go over there. One of us would stay for the lesson, and the other of us would go with Mom across the street.
Right.
So they had a horse in the backyard. And so if Letha was practicing, I was out with the horse. And
Letha.
Yeah.
Such an interesting name.
And Dad really botched our names up. He spelled hers Leitha, and he spelled mine Stephony.
I don't know, yeah.
So my joke is, I'm a phony, not a fanny. Anyway,
That's cute.
that helps people remember my
I
name.
love that. See, I tell people I'm a Karen, and they're like, and I'm like, no, I'm really a Karen. Then they never forget. I used to hate it because, it's so mean.
Oh, yeah. But it didn't last very long. Thankfully,
I don't know. It's still going on because I have
Is
kids,
it?
like little kids. My kids will tell them, oh, my mom, this is Karen. I'm like, hi, I'm Karen, or whatever. I'll introduce myself, and they're like, like, are you really a Karen? I'm like, no. And like, I've coached basketball a couple years ago, and the kids are like, we're not calling you that. And I'm like, that's my like Coach Karen or Miss Karen. They're like, we don't want to call you that. Can we call you Coach K? I'm like, I guess. Like, they wouldn't even say my name. They didn't want to say my name.
That's funny.
So it is
Well,
kind of still a thing.
Yeah. So with Letha, when she was practicing, like I said, one of us would be over petting the horse and the other one would be taking the practice. Well, after we had done this for some time, the owner of the horse had told Letha to go home and tell my dad that he'd sell the horse to us.
Nice.
And so this was in 1976. So Letha shows up at home and says, Daddy, you need to call Mr. Shipper. He wants to sell the horse to you. And Dad's like, so how much is he wanting to sell the horse for? And if I'm not mistaken, it was $150. That's not much for a horse. But this horse had been to pasture for 10 years. Nobody ever messed with it except for me and my sister. And so, and maybe it was $500. I can't remember. It's been a few years.
Okay.
And so Dad called him, asked about the price. He confirmed the price. Dad made arrangements to borrow a horse trailer, had it show up the same time that he showed up, and we're loading this horse into this trailer, and my sister's going, Mr. Shipper, it's Sunday, and we don't have a thing to feed this horse. So he throws in all the food, and then she says, Mr. Shipper, we don't have a thing to ride this horse with. He gave us this Spanish saddle that had...
Probably worth more than a horse.
Oh, my goodness, this was a fancy old saddle, and with the high horn on the front and all of the metal
detail.
Yeah, I mean, it was just really pretty. Threw that in, saddle blanket, halter, bridle, all of it for the same price. Threw it in, and so from that point on, she became our little Jew.
I love it. I need to meet your sister.
You got to meet her.
Does she live here?
She lives in Tarkington.
Where's that?
That's just southeast of Cleveland.
Okay.
About 40,
I'm learning.
45 miles, I think, from
Okay.
right here.
Okay.
Maybe not
That's not
that
far.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Does she come up here sometimes?
She does. She'll be up here on the day before Mother's Day. So
Oh.
we're going to have a cookout at the house or
With
something.
your mama?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been hard for me to travel with Mom.
Right.
With all the things going on with her.
Yeah, much
so,
easier for her to come up here.
Yeah, I finally said, I think if y'all want to see her, you're going to have to come see us.
Nice.
So that's what we're going to do.
It's kind of nice that you don't have to travel.
Yeah, I've always been the one to travel. Yeah, we would try to do at least one holiday at my house, but the rest of them we ended up doing either at my nephew's or my sister's, back at my nephew's, and it had gotten to where maybe one holiday out of the year was at my house, and that was typically Thanksgiving. But with the way it's progressed, all the things
With
that
your
Mom
mom.
has, it's just hard for me to get her there.
For sure. Do you like hosting it?
I love being a host.
I was a host.
Oh my goodness.
For my family forever. I was
Yeah.
the only one. Everything was at my house. Every birthday, every holiday. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yep.
I don't want to do it anymore.
I would do it in a heartbeat. And so
But now I'm kind of feeling like I miss it a little bit.
True.
Yeah.
I get that. Well, I bought the house that I bought in Conroe because of the layout. Because at the time, my daughter was 13. Was she 13? She was older than that. 13. She was 16. And then my son was 13. And we used to do the Sunday night after church. We called it snack.
Oh, nice.
And the kids, the youth group, would come over and they'd play tap frisbee on the road, or they'd come inside and they had video games that they could play, and music
Nice.
playing. And so we hosted that pretty frequently
Nice.
at the house and would have tons of kids in there. I think 30 at a time when they came over.
How big is your house?
It's 2,300 square feet.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of them were outside playing tap.
That's true.
So
we have a
had
lot of kids, and when all their friends show up and they're all in the house, it's
Mm-hmm.
chaos.
Yeah, well, so we would usually
When you go
have...
upstairs, it's like bang, bang, bang. All you hear is like banging.
I don't
We
have an
boys.
upstairs, so...
Oh.
I mean, I had them riding my son's hoverboard around in the house, and then, like I said, a lot of them were outside. A lot of them would throw a blanket on the grass in the yard and watch the others play. It was just a really good, fun time.
Nice.
But yeah, I absolutely loved hosting and would do it as often as I could.
That's awesome. So do you have any other crazy real estate stories?
The only other one that I was thinking about this the other day, and it actually involved our friend that we were talking about earlier. So I had taken her and her husband to look at a property on Lake Conroe. And we had looked at several this particular day, and we found this one, and it was just an interesting setup. And when you came out of the house, there were steps that went down to the bulkhead and the water. And then there was a long sidewalk along that same bulkhead. And then Mike discovered that there was a door down there. So he opened it and he goes, it's kind of like a bunker in here. And so lots of storage, lots of nooks and crannies and everything. And he goes down this hall back towards the house from what I think we're over. The garage is what I think we were over. And we opened another door that was down there, and there's a bed and red lights and video cameras.
Like 50 Shades of Grey?
I was like, all of a sudden I feel the urge to leave. And so we closed the door.
You didn't want to go check it out?
No,
Play with the toys?
No.
I'm just kidding.
We got out of there as quick
I
as
wouldn't
we
want to touch
could.
anything.
So we were all just like, I cannot believe that. Cannot believe that.
That's crazy.
And
So it was
this
like a
is
hidden room?
showing. Yeah. And lock it. If, yeah, I don't know. That caught us by surprise. That was weird.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah. And maybe it's not weird for some, but when you're out,
I mean,
with
if
your
if it's
clients-
voluntary,
true.
I'd be worried about things going on that are
Yeah, exactly.
with it being hidden like that.
Yes.
Because I have friends that tell me
But it was
stories about things
unlocked.
they have in their bedrooms that their kids find.
Oh, yeah.
When I've had experiences showing houses finding things
Yes.
left out on the nightstand or something, I'm like,
going
wait.
in
Yeah.
to prepare for an open house, you always want to sweep
Yeah.
the house before.
But there's those occasions where your clients decide the last second they want to go look at a different house. And so you don't have much time to
Right.
sweep it. You go ahead, okay, let's go check it out, especially when houses were like, in 2021.
Right.
Going in 2020. Like we were having to
run in.
Yeah, I mean,
Run
we don't
in,
have
run
time.
out.
Like, my friend Molly, she's probably going to listen to this show because she listens to me sometimes. I showed her like 30 homes in 2020, summer 2020. I mean, we were just going house to house.
Yep.
And I have my kids along with me a lot of times because it was COVID.
Yep.
And we didn't have daycare or school. So I had my kids with me and I would just rush them. Like, I would go, we're going straight to the backyard, don't touch anything. And I'd throw them in the backyard, and then we'd come back out, And I would let the agent know, like, hey, I have my... But everybody was so understanding during that time. I never had an issue.
That was a
and
weird
my kids,
time, though. I mean...
It was a very strange... When I think about it now, I'm like...
Oh, yeah.
Dragging 5 kids around in my car, one in diapers, and, picking up...
You're walking into a house that's unfamiliar to everybody. You don't know whether or not...
So all I'm doing is beeline it to the backyard.
Yeah.
Don't mess up anything. Don't disturb the neighbors, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But my kids were really well behaved. I'm so grateful how well behaved they were. My oldest son is such a good, like making sure the little ones would just be good. Because I had my 2 and my friend's 3. She ran a hospital and I was taking care of her kids for her while she ran the hospital during COVID. But anyway... I went to the bedroom and opened the master bedroom door, and my clients are right behind me. This wasn't Molly, though. This was another client. It was a couple. Something was sitting on the nightstand.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, let's go into another room. And I went to go look for, like, a paper towel or something so I could, like...
Toilet paper.
Dump it into the drawer. Well, when I opened the drawer to throw it in there, it was full.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was like, ugh.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to see that.
Well, thankfully, I didn't see any of that in this room that we, discovered. But it was quite interesting, and you understood what that parlor was for.
Yeah, for sure.
Was it a parlor?
I'm
Can we
not
call it a
judging.
parlor?
I'm not judging people
Right.
at all in any way, shape, or form. I just please put it up.
Yeah.
Like put it in a box in the attic or somewhere where we're not gonna, even a box in the closet. Just put it somewhere where we're not gonna find it.
Right.
Because people are nosy too, even though they really shouldn't. They
open
will
that
open
drawer.
drawers.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll open
Even
cabinets.
if it's not part of the sale.
They'll go in the kitchen and open cabinets. They go in the bathroom and open cabinets. I'm like, if you don't want people to see stuff, put it away.
Right.
And I guess some people don't really care.
Yeah.
And they're still living in it. So
Well, some people don't see there's anything wrong with it.
and there's nothing wrong with it
Yeah.
as long as it's, like I said,
Well,
voluntarily.
wrong with leaving it out. Yeah. So they
Yeah.
just don't. You just have those.
You have to be aware that there are people out there that are extremely opinionated. If you
Yeah.
want to sell your house, you just have to be aware of that.
Right.
It's like leaving your family photos up. Do you really want people to know what your whole family
Yeah.
looks like?
Yeah.
Especially if they find that stuff in your house and then they see you at the grocery store.
Awkward
Awkward moment.
I always try to tell everyone that I do business with depersonalize, and the one thing that they always want to leave out is
Their
if they
big family photo.
well, at least their children
Or their wedding
grandchildren.
photos.
Yeah, so and those are like canvases. The wedding photos are the
Sometimes
big,
the family
ginormous
photos.
ones.
Yeah.
So
like over the
let's
fireplace.
take them down. Let's put a clock up there
Yeah.
or something. You know.
Yeah, I had a client, it was a painting of their family. They had a whole painting done.
Wow.
You know, honestly, now I think about it, I wonder if it was a real painting
Or canvas.
or if it was like they had a program that changed it into a painting looking thing.
Yep.
This was 2018-ish, so it wasn't like AI. But I
Right.
think we still had technology to
Well, you
do
could
that.
get that done. You could get a picture created to make it look like a painting at Walgreens or CVS or Walmart.
I should do that.
They
That would
have
be
the
kind of cool. Make
photo
it look, I wonder if
center.
AI could make us look like a royal family.
Oh, I'm sure they could. There's an app for that.
There's always an app
There's
for
an
that.
app for that. Kathy's used it.
Really?
She's like in this huge...
Kathy Gibb?
Yes. She's got a crown. Queen Kathy.
Really?
Yes.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cute picture of her, and she's dressed like Queen Elizabeth.
That's amazing. We need to go hang out with her because I
Yes.
honestly, this whole time, didn't realize. I know her through Merritt.
Yeah.
And she's actually been to my house for a crawfish bowl and stuff.
Yeah.
I've met her several times, and she's just the sweetest little lady. And I had no idea that's the Kathy I've been talking to on the phone this whole time.
This is who it is.
Because I don't think she knows it's me either.
Oh, she probably doesn't.
She doesn't. I know she doesn't because she's sitting there emailing me, this is what I do, and very formal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now.
She's on top of her game.
For sure.
When she got back into the arena of actually working as a lender again, and she reached out to me and said, I'm going to get back into the arena, and I would love to work with you. Because I'd been around her and done business with her in the past, I knew immediately I wanted her to be part of my mob.
Of course. Your mob?
My mob.
What does that stand for?
So that's just my mob.
Your mob?
Yeah. So I took a class that was a marketing class, and he said, "Who's your mob?"
Nice.
You know, all of the people that you can contact, your resources.
I have that.
I have a mob.
I have a mob.
You know, I have.
Especially for like classes and events, I have all my sponsors.
So,
I have these. Actually, I just talked to another lender yesterday. And I was telling him, he was like, well, I have these people I usually use. I said, well, I have my people too. So there's a couple of people I always use.
Yeah.
They're actually an inspector and renovation guys. And then I have a pest control girl that I always try to use her. She's so busy though. But definitely my other two guys. Keaton Harris, I don't know if you know him. He's Lone Star Home Inspections.
Yeah, I think I do know him.
Love him. He's my favorite, best. All my realtors just rave about him. So I don't have to worry about referring him or being affiliated with him because nobody likes a bad inspector.
Well, I've got an inspector that I've stumbled across that he does an amazing job on Instagram, and he shares findings with people so that they know what to look for.
Yeah, Keaton does the same.
He's just.
Who is it?
Matt Ward.
I don't think I know him.
I think it's A Pro Inspection. I just know Matt.
Okay.
I don't ever remember the name of his inspection company.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
But Matt Ward.
Yeah.
And you can find him on Instagram, and he's all the time.
Are you an Instagrammer?
I am.
You're not a Facebooker?
I do Facebook too, but I love doing Instagram. My daughter got me started doing the videos and stuff on Instagram, and
we just had the little video session where you taught your girl.
Yes, I taught Donna, who's the assistant
for her husband.
For her husband.
And her husband, tell me his name again.
Greg Jolly.
That's right.
Yeah, he's on my team.
Did they sell that house?
I don't think it's sold yet, but
that was such a cute,
it's an
perfect
adorable
house.
Snug Harbor. If anyone's looking for a cute home, you got to come and look at this
super cute home.
But anyway, we've been talking about doing these videos, and she's been saying for a while, you've got to show me how to do them. I don't want to be in them. I just want to do them in the house.
I was very impressed with how knowledgeable you are with doing the videos on Instagram. With all the editing and everything. And I'm not trying, this is not a dig at you in any way, shape, or form, but most people that are in my generation or older do not really know how to do a lot of that stuff. They need help. And so I was very impressed. I was like, she really knows her stuff. She's like hip. I love it.
I think that's my daughter taught me how to do all of this stuff.
Well, my kids are teaching me how to do stuff. My son's like, Mom, you can do this on Canva. And I'm like, what? He's like, you make QR codes on Canva. And I'm like, you can? He's 12. And I'm like, how do you know this?
My
daughter,
daughter,
Mom, they taught us Canva in school.
My daughter's 26, and when there was a lull in business, because she owns her own coffee shop.
Where?
She's a pop-up coffee shop, but she's probably about to be permanent again in downtown Conroe, and she used to be over on Thompson Street. But the name of her coffee company is Urban Grinds Coffee Company.
I know them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when she first started, it was the end of 23.
She does events and stuff.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
So she'll be out I'm doing a shred day for my community on May 10th.
I have a realtor that's wanting to do like a big kind of broker open in one of her luxury listings.
Yeah.
And she wants to kind of draw in that kind of like higher end. So we could do that. I should call your daughter.
Yes.
And have her do.
We're doing that next Wednesday, as a matter of fact, at
Oh,
one of
send
the
it to me.
listings on the team. So we've got a listing that's on Prescott in Stewart's Forest.
Okay.
And she's a higher priced point, so we don't get a whole lot of showings.
Right.
So we decided we're going to do like a luau theme. And it just so happens that Brittany's menu right now is called Seaside.
Nice.
So
for
she's
summer.
got coffee, but she does these
It's like coconut
amazing
coffee and all this stuff.
refresher drinks. You know, they're like lemonades.
Oh, yeah.
And they all have their own flavor. She and Audrey Nichols is her partner, and they make their own sugars and their own flavors.
Oh.
So when you get a
So it's
drink
not
from
highly
her,
processed.
it's not store-bought. Oh, wow. It is their own concoction they have made for themselves, and everybody loves their drinks.
That's
They just
awesome.
do an amazing job.
Send me the information for next
Okay.
week, and I'll bring that realtor I was just talking about. I'll call her when we leave
Perfect.
here and see if she wants to go with me so we can go check it out.
Okay.
Because I want to do that, and then I thought it would be cool to have that like out in the front.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you come in, we could do like a hat bar and like maybe a permanent jewelry. Or,
Right.
Because I went to a big broker open house up in by Lake Livingston. One of my girls up there did this beautiful broker open house at this amazing home out in the country with a view and a pool and acreage. You know, my dream house. I'm like, do we have to leave? Can we just be squatters? I love this house. But she did all of that, and it brought in such a big crowd.
Yeah, we're going to try to do the same. We're doing it, turning it into an event on Facebook.
Okay. Well, if you need like a hat bar person or anything like that, let me know because I have a hat person, hat bar.
Okay.
chick.
So Brittany's going to be set up. This has a pool in the backyard with like a pavilion
Nice.
with a table under it. And
So you're gonna do it like out there?
yeah,
like
we're going to do it in the
entertainment?
backyard. So if they come in, they see the house, they step into the back, they can get a cup of coffee or
Perfect.
lemonade. And we're doing it. I'm trying to remember the hours. I think we're doing it from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. that
Okay,
day.
perfect.
And she'll be under the canopy part of that. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we're trying to get other vendors or real estate affiliates to come and participate as well. And maybe we were supposed to do it this Wednesday, and we didn't do it because the owner of the property was there and she had COVID and was leaving on Thursday. So as long as she was there, we decided we'll postpone and we'll just reschedule it for a week later because she was
Right.
going back out of state. So now it's set up for next Wednesday. So
Which
I'll
is
have to,
the 7th.
I believe so.
May 7th?
5, 6, 7. Yep.
I know that day really well.
Do you?
I had a big event on May 7th. I was actually in a car wreck, and I was hit by an 18-wheeler and air-lifed, and it changed my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah. So I always remember May 7th.
Wow.
I also became a woman on May 7th when I was 13. Dick's over there like, oh my God. It's life. It's what we do.
It happens.
It's part of life. And for me, I had a mother who had a hysterectomy when I was younger, and she didn't have to have that stuff. And
Yeah.
nobody talked to me really about it. I heard about it, like this is gonna, at school and stuff, but they never told you that it's like you think you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And
this
so it was
thing
traumatic for
happened.
me. So I remember, and I was at a band concert too,
Oh, no.
talking to this
So
guy,
nerves?
Trey Graham.
You were probably nervous about all of that.
I wasn't nervous about the band competitions.
Oh,
I could
okay.
care less. My mother made me play the flute, and I hated it. And I was second to last chair, and I did not care. I did not want to be there. I wanted to play the drums, Mom. Okay. She was like, "You're not playing the drums. That's for boys." I'm like, "No, it's
No,
not."
it's not.
When I got to high school, almost everybody in my percussion line was
Was a
females
girl.
except one guy. I ended up playing the cymbals because I didn't learn to play the drums. So I got to play cymbals like a nerd. And but I had long arms, so they gave me the big ones, And you could do these sometimes. Or use a
Or
tambourine.
do the little bells that are on the
I never
string.
did those.
Oh.
But I did a tambourine a few times. I did the little finger ones for fun
Yeah.
a few times, and then I had the big ones. And my friends would stand in the hall and like throw stuff, try to get it between my cymbals. Like when we marched to the halls for like pep rally.
So you look like the big monkey on ting, ting,
Yeah.
ting.
And at the time I was athletic, but it really strengthened my arms.
Oh, wow.
Like my shoulders. I had very muscular, kept my arms in shape. I need to do that again. Maybe I should play cymbals again.
There you
'Cause I'm like,
go.
what is happening here?
Tone. Get rid of
I could do tambourines with just that. We got way off subject there.
I remember the days back, and my dad was the type of father that anytime that I was going through that, it would hit me really hard, and it always seemed to happen. So I was a barrel racer.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so before a show, if you got really nervous, for me, if I got really nervous, it would trigger that.
Really?
And so whenever I would get down because it bothered me, I think they thought I had endometriosis, but that was not my problem. It was rough.
Had nerves.
And my dad would come in and say, "What's wrong with her?" You know, and my mom would try to explain, and he'd go, "Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it." Just he'd leave the house because he didn't want us to talk about it in front of him.
It's so funny to me how guys are so weird about it.
Yeah,
I have 4 boys, and then I have 4 brothers. They do not want to talk about it at all.
that's funny.
My husband doesn't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk
Most
about it.
don't.
Nobody wants to hear about it. And I'm like, it's part of life.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
happens.
part of life. We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
Girls talk about it all the time.
Yep.
I mean, not all the time, but you know.
But yeah, I understand.
Yeah, we're just like, whatever. We send each other like gifts and stuff. Like stuff from like Carrie or like the scene from, what is that movie? The Shining, when it has like the blood coming through the hole.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
They're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, meh.
Video, something from Carrie.
Oh yeah, me and my best friends send each other stuff like that, and we're just like laughing, you know.
So funny.
I mean, what else can you do? You gotta laugh about it.
Yeah, you do.
Because you feel terrible.
Well, life. You know, things happen. You got to
I
turn it
know.
around.
I laugh
Make
about
the
every.
most of it.
What is that song? I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral. That's me, inappropriately laughing at a funeral, because I don't like funerals. They make me very uncomfortable. I've been to way too many, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And they're just sad. And the only way for me to like deal with that, I guess, is to make jokes. And so when I get like uncomfortable, I either talk too much or I make inappropriate jokes.
Oh,
And sometimes it just slips out too. I grew up in a very humorous family, and we tell a lot of jokes.
that would be my sister. She's the one that if
I
she
need to
thinks
meet
it,
your sister.
Yeah, if she thinks it, she speaks it.
That's me. No
She's
filter.
hilarious. She posted a picture of her grandson recently. They were about to leave her house, and it's the ring. It's the ring.
Yeah.
On the porch, and he walks out the door, turns around, and he's a little tiny guy, about this tall, and he's doing this weird little dance. And she put it to the music of Mario Brothers.
That's awesome.
So you see him come out and turn around and do. So it is
Aw.
hilarious. And it's posted on her Facebook page a couple of times
Nice.
now.
Does she make it like a reel? So it like you
I
can.
don't know if she knows how to do that. I need to teach her how to do that.
Yeah, she should make a reel because then
She
it might
probably
go
does.
viral. You never know.
This is
Because
true.
people love little kids.
Oh, they do. They love kids and they love pets.
Kids, yeah.
Kids and pets. If you put a video of a pet on there, it's
And
gonna
grandmas.
Yeah.
I love all the pranksters that prank like their grandmothers and
Oh, my
stuff.
goodness.
They crack me up.
Sometimes I see some of the pranks that are on the reels, and I think to myself, do they ever get just really angry at what they're doing to one another? Because some of it is harsh.
Yeah, I don't
You
really
know?
like those, but I like the ones that are really funny where the grandmas are like laughing too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're like, stop, or like when they prank them to say something that is like silly or inappropriate, and they're
They
like,
don't realize what
they're like, what
saying.
am I saying? And they just keep saying it.
Why are you laughing?
And then when they figure it out, they're like, I'm like, I know it's inappropriate, but it's funny.
But it's funny. Yeah.
It's funny. And I hope when I'm older, I can have a good sense of humor and not be cynical and grumpy. Because there are some really cynical, grumpy old people out there. And I do not want to be one of those people. My grandpa was like that. So I just jacked with him all the time, like constantly. He'd be like, I'm like, Grandpa, your porch is about to fall off your house. You need to repair it. It was literally like falling off. And his house was 30 feet in the air. It's in Canyon Lake on the stilts. You know?
Wow.
Like that house on the side of the road by River Plantation.
So that's what is it called? Fork.
I don't know.
What's the name of that river? It's not coming to me.
What's the name of our river?
Is it West Fork? Is that what
West
it's
Fork?
called?
I don't know.
I can't remember either. Jeez.
So I'm like, Grandpa, your porch is about to fall off. You're gonna walk out one day and you're gonna die. He's like, oh, I can only hope so. And I'm like, Grandpa, seriously, like only the good die young. You're probably gonna end up injured and miserable. Like, you know, I'm like, you're gonna live a long time. And he's like, what is that supposed to mean? Exactly what I just said. Only the good die young, Grandpa. He'd be like, whatever. And one time I was in the grocery store and we were getting ready to go tubing, and I ran in to get ice and all this stuff, you know, throw in my cooler, and I'm sure I got beer. And I was like, ready, running to the checkout line, and it happened to be one of my friends was in there, and he knew who I was. You know, he saw me. Well, I guess he was watching, like about to come up and say hi to me or something. So he was like watching me.
Right.
And at that time, I guess I ran up behind my grandpa, and he was walking with this cart because he always went to the same HEB in New Braunfels. He would only go to the old, there was a new HEB 15 minutes closer to his house, but he'd only go to the old one because he knew it and it was smaller.
Right.
He didn't want to go to the big one. So he'd drive past HEB to go to the other HEB. Anyway, so I was in there, and I walk up behind him, and I'm like, excuse me, can you please walk a little faster? And he turned, I got a cramp. I ate that huge burger at lunch. And, he turns around, his elbows are all up. He's ready to fight me. And I'm like, hey, and I'm ready to give him a hug. And he's like, you're lucky I didn't turn around and punch you or smack you in the face or something. And I was like, okay, Grandpa. I'm
whatever.
like, you know. And then my friend walks up and he's like, Karen, do you know him? And I'm like, this is my grandpa. He's like, oh my God, I thought you were just walking up behind some random person in the grocery store.
Hurry up.
The good thing the Karen thing wasn't out yet, because I was being a total Karen. But yeah, to this day, like, and if I saw him somewhere, he's like, yeah, one time I was in the store and Karen was trying to scare old people and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, you got to have a good sense of humor. You got to have fun.
You know who you can poke fun at. So
that was so funny when I did that. I should do that again to somebody and video it.
I do that with Mom just to make her laugh. Like, we went to the dentist yesterday and she had her teeth cleaned, and Mom uses a walker, so she goes so slow. And I said, okay, it's time for us to go. And she gets up and she gets her walker, and we're headed to the door. And I said, don't run. She started laughing so hard.
Aww.
And she said, well, this is as fast of a run you're going to ever get out of me. And she's just putting along.
That's hilarious. I love that your mom has a good sense of humor.
She does. She's a great person. So she retired in 2019. And from Walmart. She had worked for Walmart in Cleveland from 1984 to 2019. So,
wow.
Right at 35 years. Is that 35
What
years?
did she do there?
She was a cash office manager. She counted money all day, every day. She woke up at 4:30 in the morning, every morning, and went to the cash office and did her thing until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then she was off for the day. But when she retired, right before COVID happened, when she was home by herself during COVID, you know, we'd call and we'd check on her and stuff because we really couldn't do anything. I was in Conroe. Letha had recently purchased her home, and so we would just check on her, and we had a camera in our home.
Okay.
And so we could see how she was doing, and we began to realize something's just not right. She wasn't eating like she should. She was getting up in the middle of the night, and it was as if she was off. Everything in her world was off.
Do you think it's because she got out of that routine that she was in for so long?
I think so. And she didn't know her days from her nights.
Wow.
And of course, she was already starting to show signs of early onset Alzheimer's. We just didn't know that's what this was.
Wow.
But I remember sitting and watching her on the camera, and she would come into the living room and she'd sit in her armchair, and she would just be looking around like you could see the gears turning. What am I supposed to be doing right now?
I mean, I do that sometimes.
But she literally...
I'm sorry, I'm making a joke.
It's okay. She would look at she had one of them old-timey heaters that they used to cook on way back when, right here beside her chair, and then a little end table on the other side. And she would look at this. You could tell she's trying to figure stuff out. And then she'd look at the TV, which wasn't on. And then you could see her looking out the window.
So she's just kind of...
Yeah, and then she would look over here, and she would look at the kitchen, and she would look at the TV and back. I mean, there was this confusion going on with Mama. And it wasn't very long. I guess it was in 21 that she began to repeat herself quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was
It's
a
so
constant, when Thanksgiving showed up, she gave me one of her credit cards. And she said, take this card and go down and buy Brittany and Roger their Christmas stuff. And then once you've bought it, just let me know that you have, and I'll go online and I'll pay for it. Now, she seemed very lucid and given those directions and everything. And I said, okay, Mom. So I did just that. And then I gave the card back to her. But every day after that, she would call me and say, don't forget, I want you to go and buy Roger and Brittany their Christmas gifts, and then let me know how much you've paid for it. And I said, Mama, we've had this conversation. I've already done that. Every day until Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But once Christmas had happened, and she knew that the kids had gotten their gifts, she stopped asking. So she knew Christmas is over. Don't need a reminder of that anymore. But then it was something new.
Right.
And then come February of 22, we were watching the camera. My sister is on her phone, and I'm on my phone, and Letha's saying, I haven't seen Mom yet this morning. Have you? And I said, I have not seen her at all, and the light in the living room is still off. So we called out to her because the camera had a microphone and said, Mama, are you up? And she goes, yeah, from the bedroom. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. And we asked, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm just sitting down. And we're like, where are you sitting? She said, I'm sitting in a chair. She didn't have a chair in the bedroom.
Oh.
So she had fallen out of bed and was laying on the floor, but didn't want to tell us that's what was wrong.
Oh.
And we knew she couldn't get up by herself because we had already experienced that in the yard. And so they went over. My nephew met them over there, and he got her up on her feet. Well, that happened twice in 1 week.
Yeah, this time.
And so I showed up.
So who stays with her when you're not there?
My son lives with me still.
Oh, okay.
So, and he works evenings. And so when I'm gone during the day, he's almost always there.
That's nice.
And she's good by herself, though, for 2 or 3 hours. It's just that I have to make sure that when I'm leaving.
Does she have like a life? What is it? I've
She
fallen and I
doesn't.
can't get up.
She doesn't. But
Remember those commercials?
I think we tried to get her to wear one of those once, and she would just take it off. It was like the phone. When we first got her a phone, she would not turn it on unless she needed it. You know, it was one of those flip phone things, and we'd say, this is for an emergency, leave it on so that we can call you.
And then she turned it off.
And then she would turn it off. and she thought that it was only for emergencies if she's the one having the emergency. So it was kind of the same thing with the Life Alert. But I had decided, and I told my sister, I said, I'm going to take her to the house. I'm going to make her an appointment to see the doctor, because all of her physicians are over here in Conroe, and she lived in Tarkington. So I brought her home, and we went and saw the doctor, and they did the tests and said, this is most likely early onset Alzheimer's. We can order that she go and have a neurology exam done. And so we did all of that. And while waiting on the lab work, the doctor had said, is it okay if she just stays with you? And I said, absolutely. I can make arrangements. Well, we got her home and got her set up. And then I got to thinking, she probably needs to be here because I'm so close. And so that's how it worked out. Eventually, she's got her own room, which was the room that Brittany used to stay in. And Brittany had gone off to a ministry school while Mom was living there. And so when Brittany came back, I just moved everything out of my office and turned that into a bedroom for Brittany. So we made it work.
Nice.
You do what you can.
That's right.
And so when Brittany finally moved out, I moved all my stuff back into the office.
So now you have an office again?
Yeah. And I love my office. But now it's been 3 years.
I like having an office.
Yeah.
I'm in my breakfast nook right now, and the back door is behind me, and the kids come in and out, and the dog and all this stuff.
Yep.
And so I had to reach my goal for April, and I exceeded my goal, and I'm getting my office in Wood Forest, and I'm so excited.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So you'll have to come see.
Yes,
we're going to do a big grand opening. And
so you can sign clients right there in Wood Forest.
Yeah, and we can do it
nice.
Anywhere, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just to have an office where people can go.
So in my home, I have a little desk directly behind Mama.
Oh.
Because here's what I had to do. People are probably going to think this is mean, but this is what I have to do. Mama is a grazer. And you can feed her 3 or 4 meals a day. And every time that she gets up off the couch to go to the bathroom and back, she's going to stop in the kitchen and grab something. And it's always going to be something she shouldn't have, right? Oh. So I put baby gates up to keep her from just going into the kitchen every single time she gets up. She gets 3 meals a day. I mean, she gets coffee and breakfast every morning, and I work it out to where I'm never leaving the house until she's had that. I'm never leaving the house until she's had lunch, and the same for supper.
Right.
So I put these baby gates up just because her choices are never good. Like, she would go into the kitchen and take out an entire bag of shredded cheese and just eat the cheese right out of the bag, the whole bag. Dang. You know. And so the other day, and she's figured out, sometimes she figures out how to get into the kitchen even though there's gates up.
Yeah.
And the other day she got in there, and I had buttermilk biscuits that I had made for breakfast, and so I had leftovers, so I'm spreading them out for her. And she went into the pantry and she got 2 buttermilk biscuits that were in Ziploc bags, and she ate half a bag of marshmallows. She's diabetic.
Oh no.
And so I come home and I discover the marshmallows are on the end table by her couch, and there are the 2 Ziploc bags that I knew that the biscuits were in. And so I take those and I tell her, you got to stop getting into the kitchen. You don't make good choices when you're getting in the kitchen. But I have to remember, she doesn't remember this conversation.
Right.
She doesn't remember me telling her that's bad.
Can you lock your pantry?
I could, and I probably should, but
they have those locks for like kids. Have you seen it?
I'd have to lock the refrigerator too, because she gets into the cheese and the stuff in there too.
True.
So I've got to, maybe that would be a better fix than baby gates, but right now the baby gates are working most
I had
of the
to put a
time.
lock on my pantry because my kids would get in there and climb on all the shelves and get into stuff.
Yeah.
So we had this it was like this little latch thing that you
Oh, yeah.
you just lift it up and put it down and then lift it back up and put it out.
she's only
It's just like a
5'1",
flat.
so if
It's like
I
a
put
metal-
it just high enough, she can't reach it.
Yeah.
But
At least keep her out of the pantry.
maybe.
Well, I hate to cut you off, but we have to wrap things up. Dick's got another show, I'm sure, to work on today. And he's a bachelor, too. I'm sure he's got plans.
Uh-oh.
Maybe a date. He's like, oh, let's go. Love you, Dick. But anyway, it was so great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
And
We
hopefully
talked about a lot of stuff.
we talked about a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's fun, right?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So I'll have to get Brittany to come in here and see you.
Yes. Or maybe your
Letha.
sister.
Maybe Letha.
Yes.
Letha would be a hoot.
That'd be fun. Or Kathy.
Or Kathy.
Kathy would be
Maybe
great.
Kathy and I can do a duo because I know she won't do it by herself.
You think she wouldn't?
She's shy.
Let's call her when we leave.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're
Thanks for coming on.
welcome.
Y'all have a great rest of y'all's week.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Bye.